Last year, coming off of a 10-season-long playoff drought, dealing with struggles that have haunted them since Peyton Manning's ink dried, on the back of a fantastic defense led by rookie sensation Bo Nix, the Broncos under Sean Payton managed to make the playoffs. That's not to say that their success was prolonged. They lost badly to the Bills in the first round. However, for a team unable to string together any form of consistent play for nearly a decade, it was a much-needed step forward from the days of Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, and more recently Russell Wilson. Even though it's easy to say that the Broncos are finally back, it hasn't exactly been smooth. They sit on top of the AFC West at 5-2 on the season, with very confusing games under their belt. They had a horrible debut against the Titans, where Bo struggled and the defense took over that ended in a win for them, but they would lose the next two to the Colts over a leverage call on a 60-yard field goal and a matter of inches against the Chargers that would ultimately seal their fate. However, after a game against the Eagles, where Bo led 3 straight scoring drives, they managed to upset the defending champs. Against the Jets right after that, Denver's offense in the second half was literally non-existent. However, the defense was able to take over again and hold Justin Fields to -10 passing yards. They pulled away narrowly, but last Sunday was by far the most ridiculous win yet. Because after an absolutely atrocious showing from the offense for 3 quarters, for some reason, Bo Nix completely took the world by storm and scored 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns with 33 points in 1 quarter to somehow get the win against the Giants. And not only is he the only player in NFL history to do this, but it's so confusing from a talent perspective to analyze what this Broncos offense is actually capable of, because they are by far the most inconsistent unit in probably the entire league. Something that I personally have been struggling with is figuring out how to evaluate Bo Nix's play in his sophomore season. What he has proven is that when that fire is lit under him with a gun to the back of his head, he can be absolutely lights out clutch. The type of intangible that drives sports media mad and shows me that the Broncos can beat any team in the NFL as long as they get out of their own way. Before I continue, I just want to recognize that this is not blind praise without understanding the criticism that is rightfully sent Bo's way. First of all, there is a notable, visible difference that many people have been trying to figure out. Sometimes he plays awful, and other times, like recently in the fourth quarter, he looks like literally one of the best quarterbacks in the league. What I'd like to see more of is a greater command of the offense, and it's what I think contributes to many struggles across the board. In a recent interview, Sean Payton said that he's tired of the discussions about tempo and the Broncos going no huddle, but frankly, to ignore the difference in offensive quality is to ignore something that has become blatantly obvious. On one hand, it makes sense. This Broncos receiving room is very deep, and they do have a lot of young potential. Sean Payton seems to value those substitutions a lot, but one thing that can be made clear is that Bo is a quarterback who needs to be in rhythm. Keeping a more consistent personnel out there with him would probably help that battle a ton. Payton also mentioned that some roles will start to diminish and that others will grow, which makes sense. However, there are still questions to be asked about whether or not the weapons at Bo's disposal are simply good enough. While Courtland Sutton has been a fantastic and reliable target, easily one of Bo Nix's favorite receivers, that reason is enough to prove many Broncos fans that they should be confident rolling behind him as their wide receiver 1, and I wouldn't blame them because he re-signed for a fantastic price and right now is sitting in the top 10 for receiving yards, but I have my own doubts about his role as the leading weapon on a championship caliber team. A lot of visible problems that I see from the Broncos stem from receivers just not being able to get open. Despite many of these players now becoming fan favorites who have the support of their locker room and the coaches, without considering how the levels in talent compared to other teams would be a disservice to a newly available championship window. Me personally, I would love to see the Broncos make a move for one of the many dissatisfied receivers that is looking for a new home. Jalen Waddle comes to mind, a guy who can make his own separation and just flat out get open. It's something that the Broncos would definitely benefit from, a Stephon Diggs type of signing for the Patriots. I know how much Sean Payton loves to keep a drama-free, clean locker room, but to some extent you just need a diva at the receiver position. I'm looking for the Emmanuel Sanders to Courtland Sutton's Demaryius Thomas. How can they figure out to make a move to bring some talent that's going to help them win games long term without just sneaking by? DJ Moore could be available, the earlier mentioned Waddle, Interconference rival Jacoby Myers is a crisp route runner with a reliable hand, and without writing it off as simply just my brain doing Madden things, I think this is a worthy option to consider for the Broncos. Something that I'd like to shine a spotlight on, for a main reason behind the Broncos' offensive success, as inconsistent as that might be, is J.K. Dobbins, who looks absolutely incredible so far. Despite a bit of a rough outing against the Jets, for a team that has struggled to run the ball consistently for years, now with RJ Harvey also getting time to develop as well, a great rushing attack has emerged behind a great O-line, but this is another confusing situation for Denver. Javonte Williams is currently second in the league in rushing yards, but he was absolutely terrible for them last year, making up one of the worst running units in the entire league. Although Broncos fans can take a sigh of relief in knowing that their running back replacement is doing pretty much just as good, it's still confusing when you try to find the larger origin of this issue for the team last year. I honestly have no clue, but sometimes I guess you just need a change of scenery. On that note about the run game last year, establishing the run is something I hope for Sean Payton to do more often this season. It opens up the game for Bo and is something that he has yet to fully embrace the luxury of having. We spoke earlier about Sean Payton switching up playing time a little bit, and one of those names that I hope gets called more often is Pat Bryant, who is great in the run game as a blocker and for the screen passes that Payton has fallen in love with, maybe to his own detriment. I love his ability as a potential third down receiver, which is something the Broncos struggle with a lot. Play calling wise, like I mentioned, there is a lot of discussion about screen passes and how the Broncos struggle to open up the offense for Bo outside of the fourth quarter. They have shown they are now capable of winning games, of scoring a crazy amount of points, but Payton has a very odd desire to slow things down in the first. Something Bo excelled at in year one was these intermediate level digs and a lot of dagger concepts, but more recently it seems that has been phased out of the playbook. It doesn't make sense to me. Bo has shown that he is a quarterback who must be in rhythm to make good throws. The screen passes don't really help that at all. But even that isn't saying that they should be removed from the playbook altogether, just maybe used more effectively based on situations. Right now, as it is, everyone knows these passes are coming, and most of them get sniffed out before the line of scrimmage or maybe 1 or 2 yards after. Execution has to be better from top to bottom. That's including Sean Payton situationally, but I'm also not forgiving all of the passes that Bo threw that were batted down at the line of scrimmage. The 5 dropped balls, or the failure to block on many screen passes that completely shut down drives in the first half. What this signifies to me is a complete lack of flow, something that I predict the Broncos will need to figure out if they want to start winning big games. As much as I like the personnel changes, I don't think that they are ultimately building towards a better sense of rhythm or flow. I think it kind of takes everyone out of the same page and just kind of scrambles them a little bit. I understand that the benefit it provides is there, but I also think that it could be used more selectively. Keep Marvin Mims in for when the Broncos want to pass the ball, and put Pat Bryant in obvious run situations. It really doesn't seem like rocket science, and if Sean Payton's comments are anything to go off of, I think he'll definitely take a couple notes from that, but still, it's something that you want to see sooner rather than later. In light of all of this, I can't understand how some fans are so quick to dismiss Bo Nix after he ended a decade-long QB carousel. For all his struggles early, both in week 1 against the Titans and early in games in the first half, every QB misses deep throws. To assume that Bo is some bottom-tier passer just because his receivers missed out on a ball by a few inches is flat out stupid. Bo plays rushed, and that's something that will fix over time. Something that has really frustrated me is watching Bo rush to the line of scrimmage with 1 or 2 seconds left on the play clock because Sean Payton takes a ridiculous amount of time to get his calls in. You can see how it almost puts him on this back foot, the mindset of quick, I gotta go, and it's what leads to a lot of his bad decisions in the air. Obviously, this defense has been amazing. Benito has emerged as a DPOY favorite, Jonathan Cooper looks fantastic, and PS2 has returned to his dominance as the league's #1 corner, but there are still a couple pieces missing, and that's one of the reasons why I'm such a big believer. I love Jahdae Barron pre-draft, and I still do for his versatility all over the field, but after McMillan's struggles against the Giants, juxtaposed against PS2 and Riley Moss playing shutdown defense, it might be time to give the rookie some real opportunities, whether that be at sub linebacker or even safety. Greenlaw being back also gives me a ton of confidence for a team that has an obvious Achilles heel at linebacker in Alex Singleton. It honestly feels like he lets up a huge play every single game, and this is a massive area of improvement for the Broncos. What this situation has shown me is that Bo might never be the undisputed pound-for-pound best quarterback in the league. Whether that be skill-wise or attribute-wise, whatever criteria you use, he just might not be able to reach that elite tier that Sean Payton's former protege, Drew Brees, managed to achieve. I can see him consistently putting up top half of the league numbers, and in some seasons maybe even breaking into the top 8 or maybe even top 5, but I can't say and predict that any quarterback is going to be the MVP or a future Hall of Famer. There are so many variables that affect output, so what does stand out to me is his mentality and intangibles. Bo is resilient. He can keep punching when backed against the wall. He's got a dog in him, a real clutch gene that can't be taught. He's a type of game manager who can still deliver explosive plays when needed, and perhaps most importantly, he's the kind of leader who can guide a top-tier defense all the way to the Super Bowl. Thanks for watching another video here on DNA Sports. Make sure to like and comment your thoughts down below, as well as subscribe and turn notifications on so you don't miss a single video. As university students' midterm exams are finally over, and we are back to uploading consistent videos for you guys. Again, we hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.